Today, we're going to explore how to handle these people the Stoic way, not through escalation, not through playing their games, but through responses so grounded and clear that their manipulations become visible to everyone, including themselves. This isn't about humiliation for its own sake. It's about maintaining your dignity while their lack of it becomes undeniable. The beauty of the Stoic approach is that you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to out-clever the clever or out-manipulate the manipulator. You simply need to remain centered, respond with clarity, and let their own tactics expose them. As Epictetus taught, if someone tries to provoke you to anger, know that your mind is complicit in the provocation. When you refuse to be provoked, their provocation hangs in the air, making them look foolish all by itself. Let's explore how to master this art. Strategy 1. Respond with calm clarity to their complexity. The power of simplicity. The person trying to outsmart you often uses complexity as a weapon. They construct elaborate arguments, use technical jargon, reference obscure facts, or create convoluted logic that's designed to confuse rather than clarify. They're counting on you getting lost in the complexity, becoming intimidated by their apparent sophistication, or making an error they can pounce on. The Stoic response is devastatingly simple. Cut through the complexity with calm, clear questions or statements. Don't get drawn into their labyrinth. Instead, shine light on the core issue they're trying to obscure. When they present a complicated argument, you respond, "That's an interesting perspective. Can you state your main point in one sentence?" When they use jargon, you ask, "Can you explain that in plain language?" When they reference complex theories, you say, "Let's focus on the practical question at hand." Watch what happens. The person trying to outsmart you expected you to either be intimidated by complexity or to try to match their complexity with your own. When you instead respond with simple clarity, their elaborate construction collapses. The emperor suddenly has no clothes, and everyone can see it. Why this works? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. For I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." Notice, he's asking for simple truth, not elaborate performance. The truth can always be stated simply. Only deception requires complexity. The Stoics valued clarity of thought and expression. Seneca wrote extensively against unnecessary rhetorical flourishes and elaborate arguments designed to impress rather than illuminate. He understood that people who genuinely understand something can explain it simply. People who don't understand, or who are trying to manipulate, hide behind complexity. When you respond with calm simplicity to their complexity, several things happen. First, you reveal that you're not intimidated. Your calm demeanor shows everyone that their elaborate performance hasn't rattled you. Second, you force them to either simplify, which often reveals the weakness of their actual point, or double down on complexity, which makes them look like they're trying too hard and have something to hide. Third, you demonstrate to everyone watching that you're the one actually interested in truth and clarity, while they're interested in performance and manipulation. Fourth, you maintain your mental energy while they exhaust theirs trying to maintain their complicated facade. The practice: develop your simplify questions. Have ready responses. What's the core issue here? Can you state that more simply? What specifically are you proposing? What's the practical implication? These questions cut through fog. Never pretend to understand complexity you don't. If they use a term you don't know, ask for definition. If they reference something unfamiliar, ask them to explain. This isn't weakness, it's strength. You're refusing to be intimidated into pretending. State obvious truth simply. When their complex argument contradicts simple reality, point it out. What you're saying sounds sophisticated, but it contradicts this basic fact. Simple truth is more powerful than clever fiction. Watch your tone. The key is calm, genuine curiosity, not sarcasm or hostility. You're not attacking them, you're seeking clarity. This makes their defensiveness, if it emerges, look unreasonable. Be patient with silence. After asking for simplification, wait. Let them struggle to distill their complexity. The struggle itself reveals whether substance exists beneath the performance. The result: the person trying to outsmart you with complexity finds themselves exposed. Either they simplify and reveal that their point wasn't actually that sophisticated, or they refuse to simplify and look like someone more interested in sounding smart than being clear. Meanwhile, you look like the reasonable person seeking understanding. More importantly, you've maintained your center. You haven't been pulled into their game, haven't wasted energy trying to match their complexity, haven't compromised your dignity by performing. You've remained yourself, calm, clear, grounded, and their manipulation has failed completely. Strategy 2. Ask questions that reveal their inconsistencies. The Socratic approach. The person trying to outsmart you often constructs their position carefully. But no matter how careful the construction, manipulation contains internal contradictions. Your job isn't to point out these contradictions directly, which they'll defend against, but to ask questions that cause them to reveal the contradictions themselves. This is the method Socrates used so effectively, it got him killed. He didn't argue with people. He asked them questions about their own positions. As they answered, they would gradually reveal that they didn't actually understand what they claimed to understand, or that their position contained logical contradictions. The beauty of this approach is that you're not attacking them. You're simply seeking to understand their position through questions, but the right questions, asked calmly and genuinely, expose flaws better than any argument could. That's interesting. How does that align with what you said earlier about X? Help me understand. If we follow your logic here, wouldn't that also mean Y? I'm curious, what would you do in this specific scenario under your framework? Can you walk me through the reasoning that led you to that conclusion? Why this works: Epictetus taught his students to examine their own thinking rigorously through questioning. He understood that positions built on weak foundations collapse under the weight of careful examination. When you ask sincere questions, you're inviting this examination, and if their position is built on manipulation rather than truth, the examination reveals this. The genius of questions is that they put the burden of explanation on the other person. They have to defend their position, justify their logic, explain their reasoning. If that position is solid, they'll have no trouble. If it's manipulation, they'll struggle, and that struggle is visible to everyone watching. Moreover, questions allow you to maintain the high ground. You're not making claims they can attack. You're not defending a position they can pick apart. You're simply asking for clarity and understanding. If they become defensive or evasive in response to genuine questions, they look unreasonable, not you. The Stoics valued intellectual honesty and logical consistency. When someone is trying to outsmart you through manipulation, their position almost always contains logical inconsistencies. Questions bring these into the light, where everyone can see them. The practice. Listen carefully to what they're saying. You can't ask good questions without understanding their actual position. Don't prepare your response while they're talking. Actually listen for the gaps, inconsistencies, and assumptions in their argument. Ask one question at a time. Don't pepper them with multiple questions. Ask one, then wait for their answer. Let them fully commit to a response before asking your next question. This makes the emerging inconsistencies their responsibility, not yours. Maintain genuine curiosity. Your tone should convey that you're actually trying to understand, not trying to trap them. This makes it very difficult for them to refuse to answer without looking evasive. Follow their logic to its conclusion. If their position leads to an absurd conclusion, don't point that out directly. Instead, ask questions that lead them to state that conclusion themselves. So if I'm following your reasoning, that would mean X, correct? Note when they avoid answering. If they deflect, change the subject, or attack you instead of answering, simply repeat the question calmly. I understand, but you didn't answer my question. Could you address that specifically? The result: the person trying to outsmart you finds themselves in an impossible position. If they answer your questions honestly, they reveal the weaknesses and inconsistencies in their position. If they refuse to answer or become defensive, they look evasive and unreasonable. Either way, their attempt to outsmart you backfires. You, meanwhile, have maintained perfect composure. You haven't made claims that can be attacked. You've simply asked questions. If observers are present, they see you as the reasonable person seeking understanding, and the other person is either logically inconsistent or defensively evasive. Give them exactly what they ask for, the rope they hang themselves with. Some people trying to outsmart you will make demands, challenges, or requests designed to put you in an uncomfortable position. They might demand you prove something that's difficult to prove. They might challenge you to do something they think you can't do. They might ask questions they believe will trap you. The Stoic response that often makes them look most foolish is simply to comply. Give them exactly what they asked for, calmly, thoroughly, and without drama. Let the results speak for themselves. If they demand proof, provide it methodically. If they challenge you to do something, do it competently. If they ask a question designed to trap you, answer it directly and honestly. The person trying to outsmart you is counting on you either failing to meet their demand or getting defensive about it. When you instead meet it calmly and competently, their strategy backfires spectacularly. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. When senators would make demands designed to box him in politically, he would often simply agree to their terms, and then succeed under those very terms, making them look foolish for thinking their constraints would stop him. Why this works? The person trying to outsmart you through challenges or demands is making an assumption that you can't actually deliver. When you do deliver, you've proven their assumption wrong, and you've done so not through argument, but through demonstration. Seneca wrote, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his power." When you have genuine capability and self-mastery, demands and challenges don't threaten you. They're opportunities to demonstrate what you're actually capable of. The person making the challenge looks foolish not because you argued with them, but because reality proved them wrong. Moreover, this approach gives them no ammunition. They can't claim you're defensive. You weren't. They can't claim you avoided the issue. You addressed it directly. They can't claim you used tricks. You just did what they asked. They're left with nothing but the uncomfortable reality that their challenge failed. The Stoics believed in aligning with reality rather than fighting it. If someone challenges you to do something you're actually capable of doing, do it. Let your capability speak for itself. The only thing more powerful than a clever argument is undeniable results. The practice. Before responding, assess honestly. Can you actually deliver what they're demanding? If not, don't pretend. Acknowledge limitations up front. But if you can deliver, do so without hesitation. Respond with calm competence. Don't gloat, don't be dramatic, don't rub their face in it. Simply deliver what they demanded with quiet professionalism. Let the quality of your delivery do the talking. Provide more than asked for. If they demanded X, give them X plus Y. This demonstrates that not only were you not challenged by their demand, you exceeded it easily. This makes their challenge look particularly weak. Document if necessary. If the demand was for proof or evidence, provide it in a form that can't be disputed. Documented, sourced, verifiable. This removes any wiggle room for them to claim you didn't really meet the challenge. Say little after delivering. Once you've met their demand, don't explain, don't justify, don't seek acknowledgement. Just move on. The delivered result speaks louder than any words could. The result. The person who challenged you, expecting you to fail or become defensive, is left looking foolish. They created a test they thought you couldn't pass, and you not only passed it, but did so calmly and competently. Their smart strategy of challenging you has backfired completely. You've demonstrated capability without arrogance, confidence without boasting, and competence without need for validation. This is far more impressive than any verbal victory could be. You've made them look foolish, not by attacking them, but by simply being excellent at what they thought you couldn't do. Strategy 4. Maintain frame through non-reaction. The power of unshakable calm. The person trying to outsmart you often employs emotional manipulation. Provocations designed to make you angry, defensive, flustered, or thrown off balance. They might insult you indirectly, question your competence, make insinuations, or use other tactics designed to trigger an emotional reaction. The Stoic mastery move is complete non-reaction, not suppressed reaction, which people can sense and which shows they got to you, but genuine, centered calm that shows their provocation didn't even register as a provocation. When they try to insult you cleverly, you respond as if they made a neutral statement. When they question your competence, you acknowledge their concern calmly, without defensiveness. When they try to get under your skin remains unruffled. Your complete lack of reaction makes their manipulation obvious and ineffective. This isn't about pretending not to notice. It's about genuinely not being disturbed, because you've mastered what Epictetus taught. If someone tries to provoke you to anger, know that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Why this works? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." The person trying to outsmart you through emotional manipulation only succeeds if you react emotionally. When you don't, their entire strategy fails, and worse, becomes visible to everyone watching. Think about what happens when someone makes a provocative comment, and you respond with genuine calm. They're expecting defensiveness, anger, or flustering. When they don't get it, they're thrown off. Often, they'll escalate, making their provocation more obvious, which makes them look worse, while you continue looking centered and reasonable. The Stoics understood that maintaining your frame, your centered, rational state, is the ultimate power move. When you refuse to be pulled into someone else's emotional game, you've demonstrated that they have no power over you. Their clever manipulation bounces off your calm like rain off stone. Moreover, your non-reaction highlights the fact that they're the one being emotional and manipulative. The contrast between their agitation and your calm makes it clear to observers who has real power in the interaction. The practice. Prepare mentally before interactions. If you know you'll be dealing with someone who tries to manipulate you, prepare. Remind yourself, nothing they say can disturb my inner peace unless I allow it. This is not self-deception. It's Stoic truth. Take a breath before responding. When they say something provocative, pause. Take one full breath. This creates space between their provocation and your response, ensuring you respond from your center rather than reacting from emotion. Respond to content, not to tone or implication. If they say something insulting in a clever way, respond only to the literal content while ignoring the insult. This makes the insult hang in the air, obvious but unacknowledged, which makes them look petty. Use minimal, neutral responses. I see. That's your perspective. Noted. These responses acknowledge that you heard them without giving them the reaction they wanted. It's conversational aikido. You don't resist or fight. You simply don't engage with the manipulation. Maintain open, relaxed body language. No crossed arms, no tense jaw, no clenched fists. Your body language should communicate, "This doesn't affect me at all." This is perhaps even more powerful than your words. The result: the person trying to outsmart you through emotional manipulation is left grasping at air. Every provocation fails. Every attempt to throw you off balance fails. Every effort to make you react emotionally fails. Meanwhile, they're becoming increasingly agitated that their tactics aren't working, which makes them look worse and worse. You, standing in calm while they escalate, look more impressive with each passing moment. You haven't said anything clever. You haven't won any argument. You've simply refused to be disturbed. And that refusal is the most powerful response possible. Strategy 5. Let silence do the work. The uncomfortable power of quiet. One of the most powerful responses to someone trying to outsmart you is simply to remain silent and let their words hang in the air. Not awkward silence, confident, comfortable silence that creates space for everyone to actually hear and evaluate what was just said. When someone makes a manipulative argument, a clever insult, or an attempt to outsmart you, and you respond with calm, comfortable silence, something remarkable happens. Everyone present, including the speaker, has time to actually think about what was said. And often, when given that time, people realize the statement was empty, manipulative, or foolish. The person trying to outsmart you is expecting immediate reaction. Your silence throws them off. They expected you to defend, to attack, to engage. Instead, you're just sitting with what they said, calmly, comfortably, making no move to fill the space. And that silence becomes increasingly uncomfortable, but only for them. Seneca wrote about the power of measured response and the foolishness of hasty speech. Sometimes the most measured response is no immediate response at all. Why this works? Our culture abhors silence. When silence emerges in conversation, people rush to fill it, usually saying more than they intended, revealing more than they meant to, or exposing the weakness in what they just said. When you respond to manipulation with silence, several powerful things occur. First, you force everyone to sit with what was actually said. Often, manipulative statements only work because they're delivered with such confidence and speed that people don't have time to evaluate them. Your silence creates that time. Second, the person trying to outsmart you often feels compelled to fill the silence. And in doing so, they typically make their manipulation more obvious, add justifications that reveal insecurity, or say something that contradicts what they just said. Third, your comfort with silence demonstrates supreme confidence. Only secure people can sit comfortably in silence after being challenged. Insecure people must immediately defend themselves. Fourth, silence is a form of control. By not responding immediately, you're controlling the pace of the conversation. They fired their shot. You're deciding when and how to respond, if at all. Epictetus taught that we're disturbed not by things themselves, but by our judgments about them. When someone tries to manipulate you and you respond with silence, you're demonstrating that you haven't made the judgment that their manipulation requires response. You're literally unmoved. The practice. Develop comfort with silence. Practice in low-stakes situations. When someone says something and there's a pause, resist the urge to fill it. Get comfortable with quiet. This skill will serve you when someone tries to manipulate you. After provocative statements, count to 5. Mentally count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before responding. This creates enough silence to be noticed while giving you time to center yourself and choose your response or non-response. Maintain neutral, calm expression. Your silence is most powerful when your face shows calm consideration rather than anger, confusion, or hurt. You're simply thinking about what was said or appearing to. Let them wonder what's going through your mind. Break silence strategically. When you do speak, make it count. Either ask a penetrating question, make a simple, clear statement, or redirect the conversation entirely. Don't explain your silence, just move forward from your center. Be willing to let them break the silence. Often, they'll become so uncomfortable with the silence that they'll start talking again, and usually saying things that make them look worse. Let them. Your continued silence is applying pressure they can't handle. The result: the person who tried to outsmart you finds themselves floundering in the silence. Their clever manipulation hasn't produced the reaction they expected. Instead, everyone is sitting with what they said and discovering it wasn't as clever as it seemed in the moment. You've demonstrated supreme confidence and control without saying a word. You've made them look foolish, not through counter-argument, but through the simple power of refusing to treat their manipulation as worthy of immediate response. The Stoic mastery of social dynamics. We've explored 5 ways to handle people who try to outsmart you. 1. Respond with calm clarity to their complexity. Cut through elaborate manipulation with simple truth. 2. Ask questions that reveal inconsistencies. Let them expose their own logical flaws. 3. Give them exactly what they ask for. Meet their challenges competently and calmly. 4. Maintain frame through non-reaction. Refuse to be emotionally manipulated. 5. Let silence do the work. Create space for their manipulation to become obvious. Notice what ties these together. You're not trying to outsmart the person trying to outsmart you. You're not playing their game. You're staying centered in reality, truth, and calm, and letting their departure from these things become obvious through contrast. The deeper principle. Marcus Aurelius understood that the best way to defeat manipulation isn't through counter-manipulation, but through remaining yourself. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When someone tries to manipulate you, and you respond with simple truth, calm questions, competent delivery, unshakable peace, and confident silence, you've demonstrated that you operate from a completely different level. The Stoics weren't interested in winning social games. They were interested in living with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. But they understood that when you genuinely embody these virtues, people who try to manipulate you end up looking foolish, not because you made them look foolish, but because the contrast between manipulation and virtue makes manipulation obvious. Why this is superior to counter-manipulation. You might be tempted to fight fire with fire, to try to outsmart the person trying to outsmart you, to manipulate the manipulator, to play their game better than they do. The Stoics would warn against this for several reasons. First, when you engage in manipulation, even to defeat a manipulator, you've lowered yourself to their level. You've compromised your integrity. As Marcus wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Second, manipulation wars are exhausting and ultimately pointless. Even if you win this round, you've invited endless future rounds. The person who maintains integrity while others play games wins in the long term. Third, observers can tell the difference between someone staying centered and someone playing games. When you respond to manipulation with manipulation, you both look bad. When you respond to manipulation with centered clarity, you look strong and they look foolish. Fourth, your peace of mind is worth more than any social victory. The Stoics understood that internal tranquility is the highest good. Maintaining your center while others flail is victory enough. The internal transformation required. These strategies aren't just techniques, they require genuine internal development. You can't fake unshakable calm. You can't pretend to be centered when you're actually disturbed. You can't perform non-reaction when you're actually reactive. This is why the Stoics emphasized daily practice of philosophy. Morning meditation on what the day might bring. Evening review of how you handled challenges. Constant reminders of what's within your control and what isn't. Regular examination of your judgments and reactions. The person who can respond to manipulation with calm clarity, penetrating questions, competent delivery, non-reaction, and comfortable silence has done the internal work. They've developed what the Stoics called apatheia, not apathy, but a state of calm that external events can't disturb. When to engage and when to walk away. One final consideration: not every person trying to outsmart you deserves any response at all. The Stoics believed in conserving your energy for what matters. Sometimes the most powerful response is to remove yourself entirely from the situation. If someone repeatedly tries to manipulate you and doesn't respond to your calm, centered responses, walk away. As Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you can make better. People who persistently try to manipulate you aren't improving you. And if they're not receptive to your example, you're not improving them. The strategies we've discussed work best with people who have some shred of reasonableness, who are operating in social contexts where reputation matters, or where there are observers who can note the difference between your centered responses and their manipulation. But with truly toxic people in private settings, the best strategy is often simple removal from the situation.